True, Freemasons laid the cornerstone of America. Well, at least some of its most iconic structures. So what is Freemasonry? Simply put, it's the world's oldest and largest fraternity. Its membership a who's who of world history. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill, Mozart, Davy Crockett, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Houdini, Gerald Ford, Henry Ford, John Wayne, even Colonel Sanders. If you want to be a Mason, you can petition a local lodge for membership. You'll need to demonstrate good character and belief in some sort of supreme being. Oh, and in almost all lodges, it's men only. Next, you're up for a vote, says New York State Grand Master James Sullivan.
The lodge votes to accept you, and then you have the 3 degrees that you go through.
Once you earn the 3rd degree, and yes, that's where the phrase comes from, you can join any number of Masonic offshoots. Take Brent Morris. He's a 33rd degree Mason and a historian at the House of the Temple for the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite of the Southern Jurisdiction. You know, it's that big building in Washington, D.C. This isn't like the Masonic Vatican, but it's an important building.
It's an important building. I'm absolutely right. It's one branch of Freemasonry in the United States, and that's our headquarters building.
Inside, the Temple Lodge Room is a stunner. And downstairs, there's this.
This is the flag that Buzz Aldrin took to the moon with him.
This flag, Supreme Council 33 Southern Jurisdiction, went to the moon. Wow. Now, if tiny hats and small cars are your thing, then there are the party animals of Freemasonry, the Shriners. You may know them better for their 22 children's hospitals, where patients don't have to pay a cent. The Masons are philanthropic. They reportedly donate $2 million to charity every day. The meetings. No non-Masons or cameras are allowed, but St. John's Lodge No. 1 of New York City agreed to give us a glimpse of one. For meetings, Masons dress up in their Sunday best and, just like the original stonecutters, wear aprons. At the center of any lodge room is an altar.
And all the activities of the lodge take place about the altar.
Piers Vaughn is the lodge master. And would people talk about religion here in a meeting?
Absolutely not. There are certain subjects which are prevented from discussing within the lodge, and religion is one, politics is another.
Religion and politics. Someone said that Masons were raised right.
Yes.
Right. And then there are the ceremonies. Each one teaches a moral lesson related to the legend of one Hiram Abiff, the architect of King Solomon's temple. They can be a little unusual, as pointed out in this recruitment video.
Even while blindfolded, try to concentrate on what you are asked, what is said to you, and what is happening around you. Everything will be explained to you in later sections of the degree.
When a candidate comes in through the door, he's blindfolded because symbolically he's in a state of darkness, because Masonry is all about moving from darkness into Masonic light.
That it's about being unenlightened and then enlightened?
That's right.
As for what happens after that, well, that's a secret. Freemasonry is about something much simpler.
I have met a group of men that I enjoy being with. These are people that I go out to dinner with, we socialize together. They're guys I like to hang with. They're my friends.
There are about 6 million Freemasons worldwide, but this is the United Grand Lodge of England, and we recognise a number of lodges in different countries. But there will also be a whole host of Masonic organisations that we don't particularly recognise and that my members can't go and visit, and their members can't visit us. But we are spread pretty much everywhere throughout the world, and yes, you can usually find something somewhere that you can go and visit. Masonic meeting really has been relatively unchanged for a number of centuries. A group of 30 to 40 people will meet maybe 4 to 8 times a year for a couple of hours a night, and they will do primarily one of 3 ceremonies. The ceremonies are things which take us back to our roots of medieval stonemasons, but also bring in some aspects of learning and personal development.
Was a Freemason, my grandfather was, so I asked to join, and they were delighted, and I had to have an informal interview, got asked a few questions, and then the date was set for when I joined. I had my joining ceremony, and then the rest is history, and that was 20 years ago now, but I still remember it like it was yesterday.
My interest in Freemasonry was very much sparked at an early age. I remember seeing my father and grandfather going off to meetings and very much enjoying their Freemasonry. I became very much attracted to the history and mysticism surrounding Freemasonry. At the same time, I was very much heavily involved with scouting before going to university, and Freemasonry for me very much followed on from that.
So I joined Masonry for a few reasons. The main one being to extend my circle of friends. Secondly, because I had an inquisitive mind, I wanted to know a bit more about the history of Freemasonry. I was asked to join by a good friend of mine, my next door neighbour, and at the time he asked me to put a letter into the lodge that I was interested in joining, and what I could offer the lodge as a man, and the things that I could to bring. So once that was approved, that letter, I went in for a short interview, met some of the guys, and I was happily approved, which is great.
When I joined Freemasonry, I thought I was just joining a single lodge, but actually I've joined a much larger community. I've made very good lifelong friends from a number of different lodges. We now have a young Masons club called the Essex Cornerstone Club, which provides an opportunity for like-minded individuals to come together and take part in social and charitable activities throughout the year.
So in Freemasonry we sometimes have to stand up and do some talking, and the good thing about that is that I can take that back to my work environment as a transferable skill. So being able to have that confidence and stand up and talk to people almost with authority gives me a good...
The ceremonies are things which take us back to our roots of medieval stonemasons, but also bring in some aspects of learning and personal development. And there's 3 ceremonies that we do quite often. The first is the ceremony of initiation. That brings a candidate into Freemasonry, and it really allows that candidate to reflect on who they are, on the fact that when everybody comes into this world, they come in as equals, and that as life progresses, sometimes people do better than other people. And it teaches us that we need to be mindful of that and see what we can personally do to help out those people who are less well off than us. The second ceremony, or the second degree, that teaches us to better ourselves, to reflect on who we are, how we fit into the world, how we can make ourselves better people through education. And then the final ceremony, the third degree, that teaches us that perhaps we only have so long on this world, that we're all mortal, and that we really need to make the most of our time here.
They're one of the most secretive organisations in the world.
There are certain secrets that you have to earn.
Famous for unexplained rituals.
Where were you first prepared to be a Freemason?
In my heart.
Describe the mode of your preparation.
My right arms, left breast and knee made bare.
There has been this notion that we somehow use goats in our rituals because we're somehow satanic.
And they face regular accusations of corruption.
There are people who are genuinely afraid to declare that they are Freemasons.
They're no more corrupt than anybody else.
Whenever anything bad happens, there are a whole horde of people who are digging to see whether Freemasonry was involved.
All the men in my family are Freemasons. I'm the only girl to go into Masonry. If a man can do it, so can I.
For the first time, we've been given access inside this highly secretive society to find out the truth behind the intrigue.
We have nothing to hide that's sinister. We're not trying to take over the world, despite all these conspiracy theorists.
The Freemasons are a secretive society that practice rituals in a temple and promote brotherly love. Although they have always been associated with men, we've gained access to the two female Freemason groups in the UK, the Order of Women Freemasons and the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons.
This looks like any other leafy street in central London, but this is the international headquarters of one of the most secretive and mysterious organisations in the world, and for the first time they're exclusively opening the doors to us.
This is the Order of Women Freemasons. There's a meeting today for the quarterly communication of Grand Lodge, where only members of a certain rank can attend.
The Most Worshipful the Grand Master, Christine Chapman.
And this is the second group we've been given access to, the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons.
Right Worshipful Assistant Grand Master, whom do you represent?
Hiram, Prince of Architects, Most Worshipful the Grand Master.
And your duty?
To lay plans, draw designs, and assist the Most Worshipful the Grand Master in the execution of her work.
Christine Chapman, a former bookkeeper, is hoping to be re-elected for the top job of Grand Master for another 4 years.
The Grand Master has to lead and guide the fraternity, and she has to provide direction. She is the person with whom the buck stops. If there's any problems, she takes ultimate responsibility for everything, and she is the head of the fraternity.
A criminal act.
Many people associate Freemasonry with secrecy and mystery. Why do you think that is?
If it was all written out and publicised for everybody to read, there would be no point in anybody joining it, because there'd be nothing special left for them to discover.
You say it's to ensure that it feels special.
Yes.
But people could view that as there being something to hide.
No, this is the problem. But we have nothing to hide that's sinister. We're not trying to take over the world, despite all these conspiracy theorists on the internet. And we're not trying to overthrow the government or anything like that.
Do you think, if it comes down to it, that it might be better to remove that element of surprise?
No, I don't think so.
But even if it might mean a bad reputation for Freemasonry?
We need to preserve an element of secrecy for that reason only, because that's what makes it special.
Has Freemasonry helped your career?
No. I worked in accounts departments as bookkeepers and so on, a bookkeeper. So no chance.
The police in particular have been heavily linked with Freemasonry.
Is there any truth in police officers who are Freemasons helping people get away with crimes?
Not that I've ever seen. We don't have many police officers. in the Order of Women Freemasons. We do have some, I know, but I've not seen anybody being helped in that way, so I can only speak from my own experience.
Have you heard of Freemasons doing favours for each other?
Yes, I have in the old days, many years ago, but that was mainly in the men, and they were rooted out as corrupt.
What sort of favours would they be?
Oh, you would get policemen and who were Freemasons doing favours for other members.
Because there's this view that sort of you scratch my back, I'll scratch
No,
yours.
it's not allowed. It really isn't. It's really forbidden in our rituals not to do. You mustn't do that.
And have you ever heard about that ever happening here?
Not in women's Freemasonry, no.
Most merciful Grand Master, I wish you health, happiness and success in the glorious work you are doing for women.
Female Freemasonry began in 1908.
Possessing and working the same secrets, mysteries, degrees and rituals.
But the society separated, creating the two groups that exist today.
We broke away from the main group in 1913 because of a difference of opinion, and we have stayed separate ever since. Although we are now on much more friendly terms, in the old days they didn't even speak to each other. So.
With an ageing membership, the women are turning to universities to bring in younger members.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe that day has finally come. It's surreal.
After joining the Freemasons 7 years ago, today optician Roshni Patel will have a ceremony to mark her reaching the rank of a Master Mason.
I actually don't know what happens. I don't know what will happen. I know the beginning of the ceremony, obviously the ending of the ceremony, but as to me being put in the chair, I don't know. That's a secret. That's a mystery.
Despite opening the doors to our cameras, they're not letting us film everything. The Order of Women Freemasons have not allowed us to film inside Roshni's ceremony in the temple.
This is our grand temple.
Tonight, there's obviously a ceremony that's going on that we can't get access to. Tell us why you wouldn't want us to see
Because you haven't earned it. Roshni has gone through all these offices, all the way through the chair. She's learnt pieces of ritual, she's worked hard. She must have been working for 5 or 6 years to achieve the installation into this chair. And her reward for that is to be given a beautiful ceremony. So Roshni would be sitting in this chair down here at the moment before she gets to progress up into that chair.
What does one need to do to prove themselves?
Each degree is like a little play, and it's all learned by heart and recited. So you have to learn your part in it and do it well, come to every meeting, be there and be part of the team and do your part, and if you're good then you get moved on to the next step up. In the lodge that's meeting tonight they will have a first degree, a second degree and a third degree and a ceremony of installation. So that's 4 rituals, and then you can go on to other degrees. 33 in all, if you keep going to the very top.
At the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons, dear Lazaza Nikela is about to pass on to another rank in the society, called the second degree.
I'm feeling very happy. I feel confident. I am excited. I'm not nervous, I'm happy.
You'll be hearing the questions and answers shortly. Now, that, I would say, is the most secret thing that happens in our fraternity.
Brethren.
But we're not allowed to see everything. We've got strict instructions on what we can and can't film.
Assist me to open the lodge.
Dear Lazaza is being asked a series of questions. Each answer provides an insight into this secret organisation.
Where were you first prepared to be a Freemason?
In my heart.
Where next?
An inconvenient room adjoining the lodge.
Describe the mode of your preparation.
I divested all monies and the valuables. My right arm, left breast, and knee made bare. My right leg slipped short, and the cable too, and the ran loose upon my neck.
Is that what happens in the initiation?
Yes. It's a symbolic way of dressing someone for a degree, and it all has different meanings, what it represents.
How do you demonstrate proof of your being a Freemason to others?
By sign, token, and the perfect pointing interest.
What would a sign be? I took that to be maybe a handshake.
No, it's a particular type of sign which demonstrates that you are one of those degrees that I described, and the token is the special handshake that you would give to demonstrate that you have reached that degree.
So do you use secret handshakes?
Yes, absolutely. Of course we do.
Can you do it with me now?
No, it's a secret.
What happens and when would you do it?
It's a secret. You'll have to join and find out. Then I'll tell you all about it.
Right. And when would you use the special handshake?
Within the ceremonies there are certain methods, grips. Yeah, they're called grips. But I wouldn't use it outside a lodge room, never.
Why not?
It's not necessary. Just shaking hands no. That's nonsense. That's silly.
At the Order of Women Freemasons, it's a big moment for Roshni as one of their youngest members.
We've heard the ceremony is almost over and Roshni is about to appear as a master of the lodge.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a lovely ceremony.
I don't know how I feel. I think I'm in shock. I think there's a bit of denial going on, but thank you. The whole process of me being put into the chair, that was very emotional, especially by all my lodge members who I really care about. So, yeah.
At the Honourable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons, there's a problem with the votes.
If somebody had made a mess of it and decided to photocopy it,
no, they had to photocopy it first.
It's void. Then it's
void.
After fears some of the votes had been spoiled, they've now been recounted and the new Grand Master is about to be announced.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I'm pleased to announce that you, Most Worshipful Grand Master, have been elected as Grand Master.
The result was close, but I eventually came through, and I'm now going to be the next Grand Master. In other words, I'm continuing as Grand Master for another 4 years.
Although we were given exclusive access, we still only gained a glimpse of the workings of this secret society. There was a lot that was off limits to us. Both groups of female Freemasons dismissed all allegations of corruption. But to shake this negative reputation and gain more members, they may need to be more transparent in future.
Welcome to this whistle-stop tour of some of the unique offerings here at the Museum of Freemasonry and Freemasons Hall. Here at the Museum of Freemasonry in the 3 Centuries Gallery, we like to start where the story began, with this fellow, the Goose and Gridiron. This is our pub sign. It's from the Goose and Gridiron Tavern, which you can find in St Paul's Churchyard in 1717. In the pub, we can find 4 London lodges. These lodges are groups of Freemasons, and they're still called lodges today. These London lodges have come together to elect a Grand Master to preside over the annual feast that they hold on St John's Day. This is the emergence of Grand Lodge. heard a bit about where Freemasonry began, but who are Freemasons? Well, here at the Museum of Freemasonry, we are often donated the suitcases of members who have passed away. And what's wonderful about that is that we're able to knit together their Masonic life. Here's a really great example. This belonged to Harold Miller. He was a surveyor and he spent a lot of time travelling away from home. In this suitcase we have his entire Masonic life, the lodges that he joined, the memorabilia of places that he travelled to. He spent a lot of time travelling across the globe. He went to places such as New Zealand, Israel and Jordan, and he joined lodges in those places. For Harold Miller, being part of Freemasonry was giving him a link to home, back to people that he understood, people that had universal traits such as integrity, respect, friendship and charity. Another suitcase that tells a story that's sort of opposite to Harold is this one of Alfred Allo. He actually came to this country as a refugee during the First World War, and in his 30s he decided that he wanted to become a Mason. This suitcase tells us his Masonic life. We have letters between him and his brothers, we have knowledge of what lodges he joined, we even have a set of tickets for a ladies' evening. A ladies' evening is what a lodge does when they wish to invite their friends and family to come and see what goes on. And Alfred Allo got his family involved in this as well. This really gave him a grounding. It helped him become part of the community in the place that he now called home. One of the best examples of the Masonic values of friendship and respect is Freemasons Hall itself. On the wall behind me you'll see a list of names. These names are the names of lodges and their respective numbers. These lodges gave money to help build the building we're currently standing in. Back in the 1920s, the Duke of Connaught, who was the then Grand Master, decided that the building the Freemasons were currently occupying wasn't up to scratch. He asked the Masons across the UK and some abroad if they would donate their funds and their time to building this building. He wanted the building to mean something, and so the Masonic Peace Memorial, or Freemasons Hall as it's commonly known, was created. The building didn't just receive monetary donations, it also received things like this, these beautiful stained glass windows which were a gift from the province of Monmouthshire. It features iconography that's important to Freemasonry. This shrine was created by Walter Gilbert, and in the centre of the shrine is a scroll. This scroll holds the names of all the brothers of the United Grand Lodge of England who fell during the First World War, and it's those that this building is in honour of. On the shrine we have 4 figures that are important to Masonry. We have Moses, Joshua, King Solomon and St. George. On top of the shrine are 4 figures that represent the 4 branches of the armed forces. Above it we have the stained glass window. Now this features the symbol of Freemasons Hall, the Hallstone Jewel. It's an angel, and at her centre she's holding a small model of the building itself. Before you enter Grand Temple, the jewel in the crown here at Freemasons Hall, you'll be greeted by these doors. These doors are 2 solid bronze panels weighing 1¼ tons each. They are perfectly weighted on 5 hinges though, so it only takes 1 finger to push them open. They were designed by Walter Gilbert, who also designed our shrine. On the front of them you'll see that there are some depictions. This shows the building of King Solomon's Temple, which is an important morality story for Freemasons. Finished in 1933, this amazing Art Deco masterpiece is the centre stage of Freemasonry. This is a building within a building. It's got a courtyard that runs around the outside. It's a square enclosed within a triangle. The main beauty of this room is its Art Deco-ness. It was state of the art at the time. One of the first of its kind to have freestanding balconies, lino flooring, and my favourite, into the actual decoration is built air conditioning vents. It's used as many different things. It's used for Masonic meetings, but it can also be home to the London Fashion Week or used as a film set on occasions. Everything that happens in Grand Lodge happens under the starry sky and the 15-foot coving of mosaic. It's spectacular. Each piece is made up of a piece no bigger than my thumbnail. 30,000 of them. Installed by two Italian men in the 1920s, they lay on their back as they put in each of the single pieces. The coving itself features many depictions of symbols that are important to Freemasons. The north of the coving holds a depiction of Helios, the sun god, traversing the sky. Helios was, during the 1800s, seen as a symbol of enlightenment and education. In the south of the coving, you'll find a crest. This is the crest of the Duke of Connaught. He was the man who was the Grand Master at the time the building was built and helped to make the Million Memorial Fund. On either side of his crest is St. George fighting the dragon. On the west side we have a moon encased by a serpent eating its own tail. This is an old symbol. It's called an Ouroboros, and it's a symbol of wisdom, of eternity, of searching for wisdom in life. Just above where the Grand Master sits, you'll find a ladder depicted. This ladder is Jacob's ladder, and it's the journey to heaven. It's got three symbols on it: a cross, an anchor, and a flaming heart. These represent faith, hope and charity, the great things that will get you to leading a better life and into whatever your form of heaven may be. That concludes our whistle-stop tour of the Museum of Freemasonry and Freemasons Hall. If you'd like to discover more about Freemasonry, why not book a visit? We'd love to show you more.
Masa-masa keemasannya memang kebanyakan adalah ada dari pengusaha, ada dari birokrat, misalnya wali kota Bandung saat itu Nicholas Bates, ada juga kalangan militer, dan sebagian kecil adalah orang-orang pribumi, tapi itu pun yang kalangan elit saja. Mungkin dibilang vital enggak ya, cuman Bandung termasuk yang kegiatan lodge-nya paling aktif di Hindia Belanda. Artinya selain dia misalnya berhasil membuka perpustakaan yang terbesar untuk Bandung saat itu, dia juga membuka sekolah-sekolah, kemudian mengadakan berbagai aksi sosial, misalnya memberikan kredit ringan, kemudian mengadakan pelatihan-pelatihan, kemudian charity, menyumbangkan misalnya ke yayasan tunanetra. Jadi salah satu aksinya adalah di bidang sosial, dan Bandung termasuk yang paling aktif. Kalau di Bandung memang terpusat di Loje Sindian yang terletak sekarang di bekas di lokasi Masjid Al-Uqwah ya, dulu itu pusatnya di sana di Loje Sindian. Cuman kalau misalnya peninggalan yang tidak langsung, misalnya kayak sekolah-sekolah, dulu di sini di Museum Kota Bandung pernah dijadikan sebagai taman kanak-kanak yang dimiliki oleh Freemasonry. Jadi selain dari kegiatan utamanya yang di Loje Sindian, kegiatan sosialnya bisa di banyak tempat. Misalnya secara tidak langsung mereka juga menyumbang di tunanetra, kemudian mereka membuat banyak sekolah netral ya, artinya tidak terikat kepada agama apapun. Setidaknya di Bandung ada 2-3 sekolah yang dikelola oleh Freemasonry. Memang kalau yang tidak langsung masih ada beberapa yang masih bisa dilihat sekarang ya. Misalnya kalau tidak jauh dari Loja Freemason ada Polrestabes yang dulunya merupakan co-ekskul. Nah dulu sebelum loja itu berhasil dibangun, anggotanya mengadakan kegiatan di sana. Kemudian masih di lingkungan sekitarnya ada bangunan Museum Kota Bandung yang dulunya digunakan sebagai taman kanak-kanak milik Freemasonry, jadi dikelola oleh mereka. Selain itu masih banyak lagi yang bekas peninggalan anggota Mason, misalnya ITB misalnya, karena beberapa perintisnya adalah orang Mason misalnya. Kemudian kita juga masih bisa menemukan beberapa peninggalannya di Makam Pandu, beberapa nisan yang masih ada logo Freemasonry-nya. Dan masih banyak tempat lagi yang misalnya pernah ditinggali oleh anggota Mason misalnya, karena zaman dulu termasuk banyak dan sampai sekarang mungkin kalau di data masih ada beberapa yang masih bisa masih bertahan fisiknya. Kegiatannya terbuka dan terpublish secara umum, jadi mereka juga bikin mereka selalu mempublish kegiatannya dalam majalah. Majalah itu memang ditujukan untuk intern, tapi tentu saja bisa diakses oleh publik. Dan kegiatan mereka biasanya juga bisa diliput di media-media massa saat itu. Dan daftar anggotanya juga terbuka untuk diketahui oleh umum. Walaupun kegiatan ritualnya atau kegiatan rutinnya mungkin tidak bisa terbuka ya. Hanya aksi-aksi sosial saja mungkin yang bisa diakses oleh publik. Iya, karena semua organisasi yang berdiri di Hindia Belanda itu harus memiliki izin dari Gubernur Jenderal, termasuk Freemasonry, dan beberapa Gubernur Jenderal juga tercatat sebagai anggota Freemasonry sebenarnya. Jadi tidak ada masalah untuk masalah perizinan, kecuali setelah dilarang ya. Setelah dilarang itu murni tidak bisa beraktivitas lagi. Keberlangsungan Freemasonry di Bandung ini berakhir seiring dengan masuknya Jepang ke Nusantara, karena Jepang mengikuti kebijakan fasis Jerman yang melarang dan bahkan menangkapi semua anggota Freemasonry. Mereka dianggap sebagai penjahat kelas utama yang harus kalau bisa dimusnahkan ya. Dan yang ditangkap itu kemudian di Hindia Belanda itu dikonsentrasikan atau diinternir di Cimahi, di Baros. Di sana di internir kelas 1. Jadi kelas 1 artinya yang paling buruk penanganannya, dan banyak anggota Mason yang meninggal di sana. Nah, setelah merdeka hanya sedikit yang bisa survive, sehingga sulit untuk bisa mengulangi kejayaan yang sebelumnya. Apalagi kebijakan dari pemerintah saat itu juga masih transisi dan masih belum berpikir ke arah sana. Jadi hanya bisa merintis secara kecil-kecilan dengan misalnya mengandalkan beberapa Mason yang orang Indonesia asli. Sehingga kemudian tahun 55 bisa mendirikan Timur Agung Indonesia yang terpisah dari Belanda. Tapi kemudian 10 tahun kemudian, sekitar tahun 60-an ini dibubarkan secara resmi oleh pemerintah, dilarang oleh Soekarno. Sebenarnya ini kalau di luar negeri memang sudah lama isu negatif mengenai Freemason itu sudah muncul seiring dengan munculnya Freemasonry, terutama dari pihak-pihak yang merasa terancam ya, terutama kerajaan dan gereja gitu. Tapi untuk di Hindia Belanda sendiri di Indonesia memang orang-orang masih mengadopsi atau mengambil propaganda-propaganda yang berkembang di luar negeri misalnya. Jadi kemungkinan sekitar tahun 40 sampai masa-masa 60-an itu ketika kita sedang anti-antinya terhadap asing, paham-paham yang seperti itu mulai diambil oleh kita gitu. Hal-hal yang negatif gitu. Walaupun sebelumnya memang Kalau kita lihat Loje Sindian misalnya oleh masyarakat memang sudah dijuluki gedung setan karena kegiatannya yang dianggap menyeramkan ya, dan tidak hanya loje di Bandung saja yang dibilang gedung setan, hampir semua loje di Indonesia dijuluki masyarakat gedung setan.